One of the craziest things I've seen in this whole health world, health advice, health information, longevity and things, is that people seem to just take this and make it so complicated. I think a lot of people are severely hypochondriac, and they create problems that don't actually exist, and they make this whole diet and nutrition thing so hard for themselves. On one hand of things, we have people who are hypochondriac, and they think they have like SIBO or candida or adrenal fatigue, chronic fatigue syndrome, and these types of things. And I was one of them for a long time, by the way, and this is very common. Then you have other people who just want to find the nirvana of health, and they literally don't even know what it is they're looking for, but they're just trying all these really hardcore, crazy nutrition styles and nutrition methods and things in order to reach it. So an example of this would be like fasting for autophagy and raw vegan diets and crap like that. Obviously, I'm completely an advocate of experimenting. I am in no way against fasting or autophagy. Obviously, that would be retarded. I'm not against trying to do the best thing to feel the best for your life, right? For your results. But what I'm talking about in regards to this nirvana of health thing is people they keep changing things, and they find something that works for them, but then they can't stick with it because they're like OCD, and they just want to try the next best thing and the next best thing, and they want to tweak their diet and make it all perfect and crap, like Vegetable Police, who seems to just have some kind of mesh insert in his colon or something that he needs to remove, and then his problems go away. But for example, someone who just wants to feel good. If you're first of all, you got to ask yourself, what is your intention? Is it just to feel good, to feel healthy, to prevent diseases? Because that's really easy. You really don't need to do intermittent fasting to feel good, to lose weight, and to avoid diseases. Losing weight, that's one thing. It's a very effective way of losing weight. But feeling good and living your best life and being healthy, you really don't need to fast. Fasting can help with health and things, but if it's making you feel less energetic, and then you got to stuff all that food into a 4-hour eating window, it's probably not a good idea. Then you have people who are trying to get energy by eating more calories, and then they're stuffing themselves full of food, and they feel tired and lethargic and just want to sleep because their digestive system's so bogged down by all the food they're stuffing and force feeding themselves. I mean, that was my problem for a long time because I'm an athlete. Eventually I had to say, wait a second, I'm forcing myself to eat more calories for athletic performance, but it's very hard for me to perform in my sport or even my everyday life because I'm force feeding myself so many calories, and I'm wasting all my energy digesting this food. It makes more sense just to eat high quality foods to my appetite's desire and not worry about how many calories I'm consuming. And if I feel tired, just kind of cut back on my training instead. It makes more sense, right? People who, they hear about fasting and they're like, oh, I gotta limit mTOR. I shouldn't be eating too much protein. I shouldn't be fasting. And meanwhile, they're struggling to lift weights, or their energy's suffering, and they're wondering why. Man, I feel so tired. I have chronic fatigue syndrome. And you ask them questions, and they're like, yeah, I'm afraid of mTOR, so I'm only eating 20 grams of protein a day. And I'm intermittent fasting, and I have a 1-hour eating window. Yeah, guy, what's wrong with you? That's why you feel like crap. Really, in a tangible, practical sense, what is limiting mTOR going to do in your daily life? clearly it's not making you feel better. Like, oh, well, I might, avoid cancer, or I might live longer. Like, okay, but in the meantime, you feel like crap. You can't even, like, wake up in the morning or whatever. You feel so tired during whatever you're doing. You're not motivated to live life. So, people that live longest in the blue zones and things, Mediterranean diet, Costa Rica, who actually eat a ton of pork fat and things. People don't know that. These people don't restrict calories, but they're not fasting necessarily, but they're living the longest lives of all humans. Do you really need to fast to limit mTOR and autophagy in order to produce those kinds of results? Typically, these people eat more meat than most people say, and yet everyone thinks they're limiting mTOR. They don't give a fuck about mTOR, but they're living the best lives of all humans on the planet. So yeah, I think that's funny. There's a lot of people who think alcohol is like the devil and it's going to kill them or something. Then you got people in the Mediterranean living like the longest lives of all humans, and they're drinking alcohol like it's water. Does that mean that the wine that they're drinking is necessarily some longevity tonic? Not really. It just means that you can drink alcohol and enjoy it and still live a long time. It's funny because there's people say, oh, alcohol is going to like kill you. And by the way, I don't drink alcohol. If I do, I drink a little bit of wine here and there. I don't advocate drinking alcohol. I'm just saying, people say, oh, alcohol is like, the worst thing you do for your health. But then like they see the people in the Mediterranean, in France and everything, drinking all this wine. And they're like, oh, wine is like this health tonic. Resveratrol is going to expand your lifespan. It's like, which one is it? Then people say, oh, caffeine's horrible for you. Then you're like, oh, people in Costa Rica, that's where coffee comes from. Coffee's a big part of their diet. Like, oh, well, it's got these polyphenols and things, and it expands your lifespan. All of this shit, it's like we have to, like we believe these things, like, oh, caffeine is good, or caffeine is bad, or autophagy is essential. And then we see people who are not doing these things that we think are so good, and we're like, oh, well, they are following these ideas, like they're calorically restricting, or they're restricting protein, they're limiting mTOR, or the alcohol that they're drinking is not toxic. It's a longevity tonic and has resveratrol and these mysterious phytochemicals in it. It's making them so healthy. Like the American Heart Association tried saying, like, oh, the French paradox, they're eating all this saturated fat. It must be the wine, it must be the plants that they're eating. Like, how about saturated fat just doesn't cause these diseases like we say it does? And the evidence is very weak. And it's done on people who eat saturated fat in the form of ice cream and pizza versus, cheese and wine and salad or something, feta cheese and olive oil. Like, anyway, you don't need to limit mTOR to live a great healthy life. You don't need to be raw vegan to feel great and live forever and raise your vibration and reach nirvana like people think. The electrical vegan diet, so you can become like Electro from Spider-Man and like electrocute people. Like, man, it's crazy now. Like, just thinking about like nutrition, the nutrition and health community is crazy. Everyone's like, oh, hey, I gotta limit mTOR, like, I got candida, I gotta do this crazy cleanse. Look, find something that works and then stick to that shit. And when you find something that works, don't sabotage it by eating this rice you think you need, or, trying to get enough, like, nutrients, and stuffing yourself with plant foods and shit. It's the worst thing you can do. That was something I did for so long. I'm like, oh, I gotta eat all these plant foods to be healthy. And I, like, fucking made all these beans and all this the spinach smoothies and whatnot. Ended up feeling way worse than I did when I ate junk food because of all the crap all the fiber I was forcing myself to eat. Man, and you got these vegans who are pooping 8 times a day, and they're like, oh, it's healthy and it's normal and this is what humans are supposed to do. And it's like you're eating nothing but undigestible plant foods. Like, not to say that plant foods are horrible, but obviously you're going to poop because you're eating more undigested food. Like, duh. And it can be beneficial in some sense, in some context, but yeah, it's just crazy. Find something that works and don't sabotage yourself, you know. I feel like people have to like sabotage themselves over and over again before they finally realize, oh shit, like I'm sabotaging myself by doing that thing I do every day. Wow. So anyway, yeah, it's not that complicated, you know. Eat keto and become a beast like me. No, I'm just kidding. Just find something that works for you and makes you feel good, and don't do something that makes you feel like shit. It's pretty much that simple. You know, you don't have to live a life of like caloric restriction or intermittent fasting or protein restriction or saturated fat restriction, but do remove the things that cause disease. Remove sugar, remove processed sugar, remove high glycemic load carbs, remove trans fats, remove vegetable oils. None of that shit serves a purpose. Sugar's just a drug. But if you want to eat like grains, like rice and stuff like that, go ahead. Just avoid the main things that cause disease. Aim for quality, and only eat as much food that makes you feel good. You know, don't eat too much, don't eat too little. Feel good. It's that simple. It doesn't need to. In fact, the recommended daily allowance of vitamins and minerals is not even accurate. It's based on like the minimum daily allowance based on the standard American diet and the people that eat it. If you're not eating the standard American diet, that shit don't apply to you. There's people that have been eating nothing but red meat on the carnivore diet for years and years, and they don't get no vitamin C, they don't get the daily recommended intake of folate or vitamin B1, and they're feeling better than ever, reversing all their chronic diseases and feeling great. So I'm just saying, as long as you're not doing some dumbass raw vegan diet or something, you're doing something sensible, you feel good, you feel great. Not even the government's, you know, recommendations for nutrients is necessary. You know, look at Hinch Herbivore. He gets all the daily nutrients, and his face is melting off his damn skull. You know, look at Vegan Games. He's got all these fucking health problems. Not to say it's necessarily veganism, but I'm just saying getting your daily nutrients on nutrition facts or whatever on paper doesn't necessarily correlate to good health. So anyway, leave your question comments down below. Let me know what you'll think, and cuss me out. Tell me how stupid I am if you want. I don't care. I want to hear it all. So, love you guys. Talk to y'all next time.